Hi everyone, and welcome to episode 15 of Life After Graduations series. So today I've got two special guests with me. We've got Cheshna and Minura, who will be talking about student representation and student mentoring at university. So a bit of context about our episode. You might have heard our first two episodes with Sam, with sports leadership, Sam and Jarrell, and who else was it? And Rahul. And then we had episode 14 with Mehdi, Bernard, and Isaru. So this time we've got a different panel where instead of talking about student representation, we're going to be really focusing on mentoring. So yeah, welcome to the podcast, Minura and Cheshna.
Hello, hello.
Awesome. So would you guys like to give a brief introduction about yourselves and how you got involved with student mentoring at university?
Cool. Would you like to go first, Minura? Or?
No, ladies first.
Yeah, sure. Okay. So hi, everyone. My name is Cheshna, and I've recently graduated in a degree in accounting. Throughout my journey in the university, I've been a student transition mentor, helping mostly in the activities in the university. And then I transitioned to peer mentor, where I was mostly helping with academic help. And then I moved to becoming a lead mentor in the business campus. And I ended my journey as a student chair in one of the board meetings that we host within the university. Yeah.
Awesome, Cheshna.
I started my journey by really becoming an engaging student. I remember as an international student, I wanted to learn more about the university life and how it is. And I used to be really engaging, trying to be around, helping people. And that was really fascinating for me as well. And that's how I started my journey as a mentor. Yeah.
Awesome. How about yourself, Minura?
So yeah, I started studying at Swinburne in 2015 in an engineering course. So yeah, like my first semester was a bit of a train wreck. So and like, but anyway, like I just noticed like during my orientation, like there were these people like who were volunteering and they were having so much fun. So I wanted to do that. So I joined the volunteering program at Swinburne in my second semester. So I volunteered to welcome a new batch of students, and from there onwards, I just kept on volunteering. So from my second year, I got the chance to mentor at Swinburne as a volunteer. So where did I don't know. So like I just sort of like got to know more people and like built my connections and sort of like immediately, I don't know, few semesters later, I ended up as like a Swinburne peer assistant, which I work with Alex.
Yeah.
Like we had this amazing supervisor called Paul, and yeah, so he and Sophia, who was like one of the other staff members who were looking after us. They were so amazing. So they started a new mentoring program, and they wanted to like trial mentor leaders. So yeah, I was one of the pilot mentor leaders, and I'm still there.
That's awesome, Minura. I still remember those times where I think to our audiences, if you don't know that I actually got involved with student mentoring with Minura I got involved in 2017, 2018. I mostly was in the sports area of the university, getting involved with the sports, with table tennis, of course, as the president. And then I remember suddenly I did meet Byron, who was also a part of the academic development advisors, who co-piloted the program with Paul and Soph. And then of course we had Andrew as well, who was on the side making jokes. And then yeah, we had this amazing community that I got involved with, Minura, and then of course the Swinburne peer assistants, and then getting involved with mentoring. I remember the one thing that probably I enjoyed the most, other than going to the event, was, I'm going to be honest, I remember Paul asking me to be on the cover of the student mentoring program at Swinburne with 5 other amazing students. And I remember that, and I look back at that photo, and I'm not proud of what I was like. I'm just not proud of the way that I don't know. I'm just going to say that I just don't like the way that I was interpreted. I was just looking like that, and I look like a total idiot in that photo. But all it said, it was fun.
I have something to add regarding those photos. Um, so, so when we were like taking stuff online, so we were trying to implement like online training programs and online content for the mentoring program. So Paul handed me like a Google Drive access to these photos, and they're like, so Alex is in these photos, and I'm just like going through, oh my god, what is it doing? Like there are some great photos. Like trust me, like I've used some really good photos of that collection, but like um some of them are hilarious. Like there are some like snapshots of like Alex's. I think maybe it was like a really windy day or something. Everyone was like in weird faces.
Yeah, I
But
remember
yeah,
that.
those photos were fun to use.
The reason why I remember that one the most was the one that they chose to be on the cover. There was around 5 of us, 5 mentors, but they chose me to be the biggest person in that photo. I know that
Lucky.
I'm quite tall, but I thought I would share the load with the other 5. No, I was put there, and then I had my hair looking like Elvis Presley. Sorry to compare to Elvis Presley because I'm not at that level, to be honest. I think to sum it up, that's what I enjoyed about the mentoring.
Yeah.
Really fun.
Trust me, it was really hard to crop you into like some of the spaces we had. When we crop to you, everyone else looks tiny in those.
I'm sure of that. But thanks for the introduction, everyone. So we're going to move on to our first topic, which is about, of course, mentoring. So we'll start with. So I know that every university has its own mentoring program with different point of views of how they run their programs and different purposes, and of course different types of students within those faculties. So what is student mentoring? So who wants to begin? I think it's a great question to begin with.
All right, so I think I'll just have a stab at it. Like student mentoring for me, like the word, like I think it's just, to me, it's sort of like a journey. So it's sort of like where, so in Swinburne's context of mentoring, we mainly look after first semester students. So helping students transition to their university experience. They could be anything from like, they could be fresh. Most of our mentees are fresh out of high school in their first time at uni. But we do get students like who've been at uni either here in Australia or somewhere else. So postgraduate students sometimes, also people like, who started to like looking at changing their careers. But the university life in general in your first semester can be quite challenging when you're not adapted to it. So it's really handy to have a mentor who has like been through that phase and who has like, worked out the kinks a bit and then know like what to do and know the tips and the tricks and the places to go. So I guess in my context, like student mentoring is sort of like, it's generally like a peer support worker who's been there, who's done that, and they can really help you in terms of like figuring out what you need to do at the right time rather than just like, feeling overwhelmed. Yeah, that's sort of my sort of take on it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's good. I actually do agree with it. Mentoring for me is like a program for students to make them develop their employability skills and become future ready, when they are getting into the job market, right? So the purpose of the university life is to, ensure that students develop their skills, make them ready for the future. So in Vic Uni, the program is a bit different. So we called it the Learning Hub, which is a hub where we train mentors, and then the mentors will actually help first year students or second year students or third year students, any students. So it is open like from 9 to 5 on a weekly basis, and then students, they just need to come to the mentors. They don't need to do dropping sessions, but we do have some particular dropping sessions for different faculties if a students want to get help for business purposes, for example. So we do have business mentors there to help them. And what we decided was, if the mentors are not very confident in helping the students, we have learning advisors. So these are specialized employees within the university that help assist students. And we do keep track of the student progress as well. And that's a way of how we want to help students. And we do actually noticed that, it's easy for students to connect with students. So that's how we want to train mentors to be there to help our students, because we've gone through the similar situation and it's easy for us to relate and share our experiences and actually guide them. Obviously, some students will do their mistakes, but it's not to us to show them their mistakes. It's just for us to guide them through and make them feel confident and, welcoming within the university. So that would be a bit, shed light a bit about mentoring.
I do like that the two answers that has been given. I do agree. I think one of the things about mentoring that I think I learned through when I was at uni was, to be honest, I was never a mentee because they didn't have the program before when I started uni. Just how like Minura has said that he's been at Swinburne for a long period of time. I was at Swinburne for a long period of time, a good 5 odd years. But within the first 2, I didn't really get involved in those things. And then when I got involved, I can see the difference it makes to first and second year students who are just coming into the higher education or even the TAFE system. Because I think having another helping hand will really help other students out in that situation. And I think, of course, mentoring is different at other unis. Like at Swinburne, we had multiple programs. I think at Vic Uni, they've got that consolidated program where mentors help out in different aspects, whereas Swinburne, I think we had the Swinburne peer assistance program as well, which was completely separated to the mentoring. But great. I like the answers that as everyone's given. Well, I'm going to connect that to leadership, and we all know that our series is all about leadership. And to have the most effective mentors is you have to have good leaders who can lead by example. I think that's a really good way of saying it. So my question is, how has student mentoring helped with your leadership skills throughout your university days?
Correct. I'll just go ahead.
All right, sure.
Sorry, Minura. I'm just waiting for you to answer.
No worries,
So,
Cheshna.
for me, what has actually helped me is throughout the whole, as being a mentor, we have extensive training, and it's an ongoing training throughout the whole semester. Like on a monthly basis, we have like training on core topics such as, metacognition, growth mindset, communication skills, writing skills, how to develop your people skills. So these trainings has actually helped me to grow as a person and to actually be better in my job. And taking it into leadership skills, what I do believe is, leadership for me is a way of doing the right course of action, if that does make sense. So it's just working on yourself, how you want to grow as a person, how you want to work on your skills, refine your skills. Sometimes you do notice as a mentor, you do have some skills, but you just want to improvise it and refine it. And this opportunity, these extensive programs that we've been given throughout the whole semester actually helps you to learn more and actually build the confidence and work on your skills and become, future ready. Yeah. So that would be a bit about how it helped me grow and develop my skills. And it's something that I'm continuously working on. So yeah, that was very helpful for me.
Awesome, Cheshna. How about yourself, Minura?
Yeah, I absolutely agree with what Cheshna just said. Yeah, even at Swinburne, like the mentors are given like a training at the start. So we do go through some training in terms of like how do we handle group dynamics and how do we handle like issues with other people, especially mentoring. I think one of the biggest skills that you need to become a good mentor is absolutely great communication. You need to be able to be be confident in what you say, make sure you give out the right information at the right time. So yeah, that is definitely one of the key leadership skills I think that's involved in mentoring. But yeah, but as you mentor through from maybe like your first semester of mentoring, it's not going to be the same. The skills that you gain aren't going to be the same as like the skills that you have after a couple of years of mentoring, because you do learn as you go different types of people. How do you interact with them? So because you are actually sort of, even though like you are sort of like a peer with your mentees, you are sort of like in a sort of like a leadership role to them, because you are telling your experiences and you are providing advice. So I guess in a way, leadership for me in terms of mentoring is sort of like actually leading someone else who is going through the same things that you might have gone through, and actually it involves like a lot of empathy, communication, and also giving them the right advice. Yeah, but leadership, as Alex mentioned before, is a broad topic. But in the context of mentoring, it's just one of the things, like one of the biggest skills that you'll have.
Definitely agree with that. Like I see leadership as, I think one of the biggest purposes of this leadership series run by Life After Graduation is to uncover what is leadership. You know, leadership is it, like everyone has that perception, or not everyone, but the stereotypical leader that we think of is someone loud, someone vocal. But how I see it is, it just depends on who you are as a person and how you want to build on impact. I think impact is a very important area of leadership that we don't really talk about as much, because people think the person that the guy next to me or the person next to me is probably a better leader than me, you know, or, you know, those sorts of things. But it's not, that's not the truth, to be honest. Good leaders are people who lead by example, people who, you know, that's why we wanted to talk about it in our mentoring aspects, because I think mentoring is a huge part of that, this leadership bubble, we call it. And then, of course, when students become leaders, they obviously can build that towards their career, which is building it within, maybe they want to become a general manager or CEO, or they want to be the chairman of a company, or they want to be an entrepreneur. Those career outcomes build onto it, to a person. So that builds onto our next question, which is all about I think we've touched on it before on mentoring and how we got involved, but there's always a story of how we got involved with those programs. I know that Cheshna, of course, was the chair of the program at Victoria University, and of course, Minura is also a mentor leader, which is different to the mentor itself. But you're a mentor leader who helps organize programs within the university, and of course works with the department's bosses, we'll call it. So let's get to it. How did you guys get involved, and how's it impacted you within your course and of course into your career? Who wants to begin?
You go.
All right, Minura, you want to begin?
Oh, okay. I'll go then. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. So I guess how I got involved is sort of, as I said before, like it's sort of building connections as you go. Like it's all through networking. Like whether you're doing it on purpose or if it just comes along with like what you do, just knowing people who will help you gain more skills and actually help you develop your skills through like basically most of my progression through uni, like most of the roles that I've done were through people just being like, hey, we've got this thing, I think you'd be great for it. And then that's sort of like how I've got into most of the things. And when I said people, it's mostly been Paul being like, hey, actually, we're having this role open. Like, do you want to give it a shot? I think you'll be great for it. So yeah, and it's just knowing the people who can actually know your potential and sort of like help you realize that potential is very important as well. So just be friendly at work, just talk to your supervisors, talk to your like other people who are working with you or volunteering with you. And that's sort of like how, in my experience, how I got into different roles through Swinburne, and how I got into the role of like a mentor leader. Yeah, so, and to answer the second part of the question about how that has impacted my course and how being a mentor leader and working with the department heads and stuff have sort of given me the skill to sort of see a lot of the work that goes behind the scenes. So when you are volunteering, like you don't get most of that behind the scenes. What's the whole process? Because university is like a huge, I don't know. It's it's essentially a big company, right? So basically, it's got different structures, different departments, and everything needs to be approved from different levels, and you have budgets associated with each and every different role and activity that you do. And it's sort of like seeing these things behind the scenes sort of like really helped me realize, oh, actually, um say for example, if I want to like, just have a coffee pot at mentoring hub, it's not as easy as just buying a coffee pot. It's sort of like you sort of understand what goes into like, behind the scenes in terms of like in a company's perspective. So I think that's a great skill to learn before you actually go into the workplace, because you sort of know, actually, things aren't that easy when you have the right processes and systems involved to implement things. um yeah, so, and also I've sort of begun to think of like, okay, how should like us as students, when we're sort of like having our input into these programs, how should we support our needs, to justify to the heads and whoever is managing budget and finances, saying, actually, we do need these services because we need these outcomes. And this is the sort of evidence that we can provide to say, actually, with these outcomes, we can have a better impact on students. So yeah, just learning that through my role as a mentor leader has been really helpful. And I think it would be a great sort of insight to have when I go into like the workplace. So yeah, sorry that was a bit of a rant, but that's sort of like how how
I
I
think
sort
it's
of
a
like
great answer.
thought what I learned.
Yeah.
How about yourself, Cheshna?
Yes, so I remember 3 years back how I started my journey as an international student here. So I really wanted to know more about, the opportunities that the university offers. So I do believe that a student does not always learn, in the classroom. There are opportunities out there where you grow, you learn more. It's like more practical experience. And I was really eager to get involved into various activities around the university. You have 3 years and you should make the most out of it. So that was one of my main focus. Like I want to learn more outside of the classroom. And I remember applying for the mentor program. And as Minura said, as a person with a lot of opportunities to move and feedback, about networking, and I very good part is that I got a lot of certain projects. So, so yeah, I remember 3 years ago when I started my journey as an international student, I wanted to make sure that I make the most out of the opportunities available. I do believe that we don't only learn within the classroom. There are many opportunities out there where we can learn way more and get involved and do something, as you mentioned earlier, Alex, to impact, to show people an impact on how you can bring a change. So I was really getting involved into various activities within the university, and I really wanted to become a mentor and learn how mentoring works and how I can help other people as well. And as Minura said earlier, once you get involved and then you build your networkings, more opportunities come your way. And that's how I got involved with so many projects within the university that I had to represent the university at international and interstate level. And that in these experiences, right, it comes when you show your interest within the firm. You want to learn about the firm, you want to know the values of the firm, how the firm functions, by merging all its departments as one, by merging all the dots as well, how the student engaging works within the university. And the main aspect of is that as student we should not only just just remain in class and then go back home. We should get involved, learn more, and if we want to bring a change, get involved with various activities, even as a volunteer or as a mentor or just as a helper. It does make a difference, and that's how you meet people, you build your networking skills, and then you get the opportunities coming your way. And obviously, I've also been a student a student as partner, the chair of a student as partner. So that's how I started. I became a mentor. I got involved within the university. I was eager to learn about the values of the university. What is the firm working for? You know, what is the vision? Obviously, they're looking for the students' progress. They want to make students future ready. So I wanted to be a part of that program. And at that particular period, I think 2018 to 2019, um, Victoria University was in a major transitioning process. I'm not sure if you heard it. We moved from transition learning model to block model where we are learning one unit at a time. And as a student, I had experienced both. So I've been a part of the block model, I've been a part of the transitional process. So I wanted to bring my opinion forward to express, you know, how I found it as an international student learning as a in the traditional model and in the block model, and I became part of the academic board meeting and share my experiences. And that's how I started to meet people, getting to know people, and bring my opinion forward. As mentor, I do believe it's important for students' voices to be heard. It's really impactful
Yeah.
because the university, they are working towards the students progress, right? So they want to know the input of the students, and that's my main reason how I got involved. And then definitely how it impacted me in a way is opportunities coming your way. Definitely, like for me, I had opportunities like representing the university, and that helped me to develop my public speaking skills. That helped me to learn from a leader, from the vice chancellor, how she handles her work, how she acts as a leader. You know, it's different how you can see someone as a confident public speaker and me as a student starting my journey as a leader. So you want to learn more from a leader, and that's how it has impacted me so much, and I have learned so much from these leaders. Yeah. So yeah.
Awesome, Cheshna. I think you've actually really summed it up really well. I think it's about those network. I think we'll talk about that later on, is that networking opportunities within the university and of course into the external and externally into different organizations and companies around with the partnerships that universities get involved with. Um,
Right.
how about yourself, Minura? I think we've already talked about how you've got involved, and I think the one thing that we wanted to talk about more is that impact. And I know that she's already said a lot about impact, and not only impacting you, but also impacting the organization, which is in this case university. And the university, I think Manur already said, this has a lot of different hierarchy. So of course students would be somewhere here, student leaders. Yeah, it does sound really cliche that we're actually talking about the hierarchy. And then you've got of course your chancellors, vice chancellors, university boards, the student rep council, the union. There's a lot of key stakeholders that build one organization. And I think the question that I'm going to lead into is about how has it really affected and really dived into your career. So your career is really important. Of course, that's why we're at university. We want to get a career out of it. How has it affected your career choices and how you think in the workplace? We'll start with Minura. I know that you're still studying and you're still, of course, building the building blocks towards a successful career or career start. So how has that process been impacted to you?
Actually, yeah, getting involved in and seeing, as I said before, like seeing the things behind the scenes and how everything's organized and how everything works, how like, you know, the wheels fit in the whole system, not wheels, cogs rather. So yeah, I think the impact that that I've had. Do you want me to talk about the impact that I've had, or like the impact that I was able to like see that I
I
was
think
adding to
both
the system?
both is great.
Yeah, exactly. So I think for myself, I think it was important to see that side as well, because you sort of realize the bigger your organization is, you are going to have a lot of stakeholders who will influence decisions and things like that. So, and realizing that was really helpful, because that will help me to, in sort of, when I do graduate, sort of see through the bureaucracy of an organization and like what sort of processes and systems that are in place and how they work together in order to, you know, have an outcome, have an impact on its stakeholders or its customers or clients, in this case, students. Um, and seeing that part was really helpful to me because otherwise, like, I'd have no clue. I'd be like, why can't they just do that? It's easy. You just, like, you know, just do something just
Yeah.
straight off the bat. But yeah, just seeing how that system works and why certain things are there, like why certain, you know, systems are in place and why certain people do their role. You know, sometimes it feels like somebody, like, you know, say for example, somebody between yourself and someone who can make the decision, like that sort of coordinators in between might seem like, why are they there? Like, you know, why can't I just talk to like um, the department head and like get these things done? But it's not how it works. It's just like, just understanding that is very important, just to see what everyone's role is in playing a part of the bigger picture to have the same outcome. And I think the impact that I've been able to, as a student, like mentor leaders and student leaders, um, we've been able to impact the system in a way because we create that feedback loop. We complete the loop. So when
Yeah.
they do make changes, that trickles down the system and creates the sort of the impact for the students in order to build their progress or have a better student experience at a university. You sort of like, most universities would put out a survey, and you know, the survey results will be like heavily filtered and butchered and doctored, and then only a percentage of that results will go to the department heads, and they would only see a bunch of numbers and figures, right? They would not see how their decisions and how their ideas and sort of things that they've put into the system impacts students, impacts the actual people who they are helping. So being able to take part in those sort of meetings and to talk to them and sort of provide our own sort of perspective and take on things is really helpful, because then you can actually put like a person to those numbers and say, actually, these are the things that we think that should change. This is great, but doing a certain thing in a particular way, there are potential problems. Like, you can help them realize that much faster than actually much faster and much quicker, because it's a two-way process. Because rather than them just putting out a survey like months and months later, probably when those changes come to effect, you might be out of uni. So I
Yeah.
think it in terms of like having student leaders and mentors contribute to a university in a more proactive role is really handy, because they can get things moving quicker and they can really improve the students' progress and satisfaction.
Definitely
Yeah.
agree with you, Minura. How about yourself, Cheshna? What's your thoughts about this?
Yes, so for me, being a academic board member and a student as partner chair, what I've learned is actually, you know how university co-creates plans for various stakeholders to merge together and discuss about core topics, to make
Yeah.
sure they're progressing towards their vision, right? So the main, as Minura said earlier, it's a feedback loop.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, we are working towards the students' success, right? So for me, what I've learned from that is the management process in itself, how the different departments would be working and then coming back together towards working towards the same vision. So being part of the academic board member and the student as partner chair, so we would be discussing about core topics, whether it be curriculum, learning and teaching, or student advocacy, or the student services we provide to students. So it's about connecting those various departments that has showed me how we should be working together as one despite being in different teams, different departments. So how it has impacted towards my career is by being, by being involved into these activities. It was an opportunity for me to develop my skills in a way that has helped me kind of like put on my CV as well to show how I was eager to be part of these programs. It reflects on the experiences that you have, being a student mentor, being a student's partner chair. It shows that you have some leadership qualities in the background because you were involved, and that being on your CV is an asset. It is whether it is a job or it is a volunteering role, it is an asset on your CV because it reflects that you didn't go to university only to study to get a degree. You went to university to learn from the various opportunities available, and that's something that really helped me.
I
Yeah,
think
after
connecting to that, Cheshna, it's all about being unique.
yes,
Unique, as they call it, in marketing terms, they call it your USP, unique selling point. How are you unique?
yeah,
I can agree on that. Like adding all those points together, for me, coming from studying at university for a total of 5 odd years, and
mhm,
within those 5 years, I think one of the things that has led me into what I do now. So I'm obviously in a graduate program at the moment, as well as Cheshna, and I think first year out of university is quite daunting. You start a new routine of 9 to 5 each and Monday to Friday, of course, even though we're working from home. But what the skills that I've learned through the mentoring programs, through the Swinburne peer assistance, for example, and student rep council and everything that I've done within university, it's really helped shape me in a corporate level. Because when you're coming from, of course, I work corporate level is very similar, like because it's an organization. There's a hierarchy. You've got a lot of managers. You've got a lot of people that you work with. There's a lot of key stakeholders. University, the same. A lot of different managers, a lot of different chancellors, vice chancellors, councils, union, students, teachers, lecturers. It's the same sort of concepts. And then when you bring them all together and when you learn about it, it brings it into, of course, your work life and the beginning of a great career. I'm hoping for everyone. And I think that's how I kind of take out of it. The thing that I probably take out of the most, I think connecting it is learning. I think connecting back to, of course, Minura's point about learning about the hierarchy. I think going back again on that is not only the hierarchy, it's also about how the trickle effect of decisions and how you see, for example, you find out, for example, at universities, numbers is what it is. It's all about the numbers, and we probably know too well about that, that the numbers affect everything. You go to a board meeting and they're just going to be talking, so what the numbers, what's the numbers, what's the numbers? And then connecting back to Cheshna's point about connecting all the different departments, I can probably give that point of view of being on the student rep council when I was going to these board meetings, and then I was talking to key stakeholders in, for example, talking to people in the mentoring program, which would be Minura, talking to people from the Swinburne peer assistance, also Minura, and then talking to the people on the union, the student rep council, and then Paul again, and then Paul again. um, so if I think we have to introduce Paul in this. So Paul was probably the most, he, for me, and I'm going to get to Minura, was probably one of the most influential people that I've met at Swinburne, like hands
Hands
down.
down.
Hopefully he's going to be listening to this. But he really connected me to a lot of people that, for me, I'm really grateful because it's really set me up for my career as an individual. And it's really developed not only my career, but a lot of people who've graduated and almost graduated, such as Minura, and then connected me to really great people. And of course, I have to bring in Byron, who brought me into this wonderful community of mentoring. And that's where I would like to connect this question now before we get to Paul. I think this is the question that I always wanted to talk about is, and this is a really big topic, networking. Networking is probably like in our 15 episodes, we touch on networking in almost all of them. But I think this is a very special and unique way of networking. And I really want to get that point of view from both Cheshna and Minura is, what is the most, let's put Paul aside for now, but put in the networking, that the aspect of like, how should I say it? It's a big question because networking is such a big area because, for example, we've spoke to our friends from the Swinburne Engineering Student Society. They do a ton of networking events with industry, but networking within the university is it's a different network. So how is that? So being a part of that network, let's say that, how has it really built your understanding and knowledge of mentoring and all the programs? And I think that we'll go back to that trickle effect of decision making. And we'll start with Cheshna.
Right. So, uh, for me, I think I was very ignorant about networking before, to be honest. When I first started my journey as a mentor, I was really ignorant about networking skills. So, how I started to develop networking is basically I used to enroll myself in various workshops, whether it be leadership or basically just general workshop about business workshop. I was really involved in learning more kind of out of the class probably. So when you go out to these workshop, you meet new people, and then when you get to meet new people and then try to introduce yourself, and then you find out that these people actually work in the same department as I do as a mentor, and they're actually the managers, and then you find out, oh, they're the managers, and then you meet them, you introduce yourself, and then when introducing yourself, you point out what you do. You also share your views on certain topics,
Yeah.
some common topics. If I'm going to a leadership workshop, I will put myself up front and express my views on leadership. It might be different from others or it might be similar, but that doesn't mean my views, I wouldn't express my views even though my views is different. So I would put out my views, and if someone has similar views, they will just come walk towards me and will introduce themselves and just talk about some similar contents. And that's a way for me how I started developing my networking skills. Sometimes you're doing it common topics, but sometimes it might be fine if the topic is good, but you have different views as well. It's good to discuss at times, and that makes sure that you build your networking skills. So how it does how that impacted me was a way of me getting to know whom I was working with. So whenever I would go to workshop, I would find out, oh, these are the people from this department hosting this workshop. And then you get to meet people and express your views. And if someone is impressed by your views and how you are putting forward your views, they will bring opportunities to you. And I think for me, how that really helped me, for example, I was part of the academic board, and I was really straightforward about my views about the transitioning process at that time, which was really critical time for the university, as it was something new that has never been done in Australia. So putting myself up front without knowing, I was actually talking to the vice chancellor, because obviously we do have titles. For my first meeting, literally for my first meeting, I stood up and had an open discussion with the vice chancellor without knowing he was the vice chancellor, to be honest. And after that meeting, everyone came towards me like, oh, you had a nice discussion. That was a really good point of view with the vice chancellor. And I turned, I was like, oh, so he is the vice chancellor. And but at the end of the day, what I want to say is obviously there are different hierarchy, right? As you mentioned earlier, but everyone is working towards the same progress. It doesn't depend on the level or the title, right? Everyone will have different point of views, and as long as you believe that you're confident about your point of view, you should put it forward. And that's a way of how I started building my networking skills, and try to get to know more people and get involved within the university. Yeah, so
That's an
that would be
awesome
my view.
explanation.
Yeah.
How about yourself, Minura? Do you have that same point of view?
Um, I guess, yeah, very similar sort of like approach to networking, but I'd have to say when I first start. Okay, so let's just go back all the way to the first day I started uni, right? So I was an international student. I've been in Australia for like 5 days, and I've just come into uni. So by this point, your network that you built your entire life up to like year 12 is useless, because everyone's back home in Sri Lanka, and your dad's connections, your dad's friends, they do nothing for your progress or your career here in Australia, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
what? So, sort of like, I think unknowingly, like without knowing that, okay, actually these people can help me in my career or something. That's not the first thing you think at your first day at uni. You start, you think of like, okay, how do I not be a loner here, right? So I think that's where I think orientation is probably, I would say, the best place to start networking, because everyone's in the same boat and everyone's like nervous. Everyone wants to like check out all the fun activities and food stalls and like do all the go to the same events. So that's a great point to actually build your connections, and then soon you realize, okay, you find your own group of people that you like hanging out with, and that they may not necessarily even be in your same course or your same classes. So but it's just a matter of like, okay, we do share similar interests, and it's just finding those few connections in your first few um, months at uni. That was really helpful, and then I started volunteering, and then I started building friends from there as well. So that actually expanded my sort of network into people from other than the engineering faculty. So I think that was helpful as well, because you get to work with different people who also like volunteer for the same activities or the same courses because they like doing the same things as you. And then your sort of personality and your influence on these people who you hang out with and who you work with really, when it really shines and it shows, like the supervisors do notice you, and they start approaching you with more and more opportunities. Or it might just even be like, your second shift, they'll be like, hey, I've got a bunch of like new volunteers, do you mind just talking to them about, do you mind just telling them what to do, or do you mind just giving them a hand in terms of like what you're doing. So it's just simple things like that. So from there onwards you start building on, and then you just get introduced to different people, and then it's just all about, as Sheshna just said, just talking to these people, sharing your views, and then most likely in a university environment, you will find a very broad common ground, because everyone's working for the same goal, same purposes. Everyone's working to improve their careers. Everyone's working to improve their, if it's a staff member, they want to improve the students' progress, and then what they, they don't want students to drop out and sort of like feel lonely at uni. So I think it's just a matter of like, from that very first day at uni, it's just a matter of like, talking to the people who share similar interests. And um, it, to me, networking, like I never um, like force myself to, in terms of like go to a networking event as such and force myself to like, give elevator pitches to people about myself just to build that connection. It always has come in a way, oh yeah, I've been invited to an event by a friend who's going, and like I've just tagged along and I've got to know some more people. So it's just sort of like building on layers and layers of like people. So I think that's, a university is a great environment to build those connections. And I guess in the context of a mentoring program, um, when you are in the program, you do get to meet other mentors, and not necessarily from your same study area, but other areas as well. And they also want to improve the experience of like other students who are at uni. So, and not only mentors, even the mentees that you meet, like they are still great connections. So because you know that you were able to some influence their lives in some sort of way, and they experience that uni in some sort of way, and it's just not forgetting people as you go along. It's just always being able to have that connection, and sort of like being able to have an open and honest conversation, as Sheshna said. Like, she just spoke to the vice chancellor without knowing who that was. And it's just, when you are in the same environment, it's so easy to do. It's so easy to like break down those boundaries, and then, oh, this person's the so and so of the department or so and so of the university. None of that matters when you are in like a similar, event, or in a group that's aiming to achieve the same goal or celebrating the same thing. It's yeah, to me, it's always has been sort of like effortless and always in the background rather than in terms of like a forced networking session. And I guess that sort of those sort of interactions actually do help you when you actually when you come to the end of your course and you want to sort of network with people who might give you a job. So you sort of like, you know, go along with your friends to networking events that's organized by, say, you know, your study, maybe your faculty, or like, you know, your capstone expert or things like that. And then talking to people would not feel as forced, you know, it would not feel as awkward because you've done this your entire time at uni. So I think for someone who is still maybe, you know, in their first few years at uni, you don't have to force it. Like, it's just all about trying to be friendly and trying to have conversations with people around you. You never know how useful these connections will be in a couple of years' time or by the time you graduate.
That's a really
Yeah.
good explanation. I think I definitely agree on the both points. It's that the ability to, I think, not only make an impact, but to also learn about who's in what position and what do they do and how that main primary goal, and that of course builds on, I think, what we discussed about career is when you're in an organization, one organization or company has that one, they've got a big goal. They probably have multiple goals. Same with the university, multiple goals and multiple things going on with the university, and then taking that on board and learning from that is so important. And I think going back to Cheshna saying that you didn't know she was presenting to the vice chancellor. I think myself and Minura has had that, how should I say it, that experience as well. Like, I had that experience of presenting to the university council. I remember how nervous was I. I was so nervous, and then they actually really enjoyed it and they took on our valid points. I remember that. I'm not too sure if they took it on 100%, but you feel valued, that your message is being come across. But there's one important thing that we're missing. There's one important thing, and I think we can all agree on it, I hope so, is we came from first year university students who were clueless. Let's just say that, clueless, didn't know what we wanted to do for our careers. And then we became mentors. And then what happened? All these other programs, like in my point of view, I got to get into the program through the table tennis club. And then I networked into the mentoring, peer assistance, and then what else did I do? And then SRC, and then running events, and all these things just flourish out of it. And I think it's the same with Minura, of course, and of course Cheshna, with all those programs that just you kind of blossom from a small program into different opportunities. And of course your main goal is to get into those career opportunities, developing it post graduation, or as we say, life after graduation. So it's all about those networking and those building those interpersonal skills and communication skills. There's a lot that goes on with it, but it's 5 years in the making or 3 years in the making. It takes time, and let's be honest here, right? We can all agree that a degree is, spoiler alert, it's just a piece of paper. I'm sorry. It's just, I earned a double degree with just 2 pieces of paper that took me 5 years to get. I've got 2 pieces of paper, but it's what's the most important is how you got those pieces of paper, the memories that you build, the networks that you build, the stories that you can take along with you to your career, and of course, the next, I don't know, 50 years of your career. All right, to our final topic before we close it off. What was your most, I've got to pronounce this right, memorial, your best moments? There's something that you think about. I couldn't pronounce it, memorial, just to say, but what was the most fun thing that you take out of? What was something that you will always remember about your career? Your mentoring experiences and your leadership experiences at university. Who wants to begin?
I'll have a go.
All right.
So I guess My, I don't know if it's just one experience, but I think what I really loved and cherished about my time in the mentoring program was, you know how, so in our mentoring program, when it comes to the end of the semester, we do have a small movie night and a thank you event.
Okay.
This is absolutely the best thing ever because you get to hear the perspectives of people who've been impacted by the program, and everyone else is there as well. Like, as I said, the people behind the scenes, like the department heads and the managers. So, and just that couple of hours that brings everyone together, I think that's just one of the best moments in terms of the mentor program which I've had, because everyone's sharing the same ideas. Everyone's here to celebrate a great semester of mentoring that we've had, and the mentees will be there, and they clearly had a massive difference. They are not the same person that was there 12 weeks ago. And even the mentors, and they even feel like, as a mentor, like there is this sense of like achievement. I think it's a sense of achievement because you've impacted someone else, and it's just, and also like it's not just those like satisfactions and things like that, just food, and just being able to watch a movie with everyone and just celebrate and just hang out for a night, and then just wrap it all up for the semester. I think that is one of the best memories that I've had in the mentor program.
That's
Awesome.
good. I think mine would be similar as well. What I really enjoyed was the trainings, the ongoing training. So we would have one big training at the beginning of the semester and at the end. So something that I really enjoy is how everyone gets together as one and when we work as one. So that's really good. And at the same time, how we share our ideas. I know for a fact that we should not fill our own cup to the brim. We should allow new ideas to flow in, right? And having those training sessions where everyone is grouped together and allowing that to happen as one team, and showing how we're working as one, it's really important. That's something that I really appreciate, because obviously as mentor we work at different time, but bringing everyone together back there at the beginning and at the end of the semester is something that I really like, and that's an experience that shows how to work towards creating a good dynamic within the team. So for me, that's one of the good experiences that has been really helpful, and I've learned how to have to build that team spirit, and that you can bring to the work experience as well. Yeah.
100% agree on that, Cheshna and Minura. I think one of my best moments is, yeah, I think going back to Minura's point, is that impact and being able to celebrate it at the end of the semester when you come together. You get the award, you shake the pro vice chancellor's hand. You've known that you've made an achievement for the year, and then the next year you do something different to get to that stage, and then you have that time where I remember that in I think it was 2018, end of 2018, when we had the new pro vice chancellor and the director who came over, and then they were all having we were just eating and just enjoying that time, even with people with higher management roles, and you're just like celebrating what a year has been and the impact that you as a group of students. And you're going to remember that at Swinburne, for example, there's 18,000 students in the Hawthorne campus from, I think that was the 2019 year, and you're one of 100 students who've been a part of a program that impacted many students. You're not mentoring one student, you're mentoring 4 students, and then having those other programs that the department runs, such as the Swim and Peer Assistance and the Student Representative Council, which was also a part of the same department programs. It really built on the impact that a group of students can make, and you take that on as memories when you graduate, of course, and then when you take that on to work and interviews and everything else, you've got things to talk about, and I think that's the most things that you can talk. Awesome. I think we'll close off the episode. I want to thank our speakers for coming on, Minura and Cheshna. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
sharing
Thanks
us,
so much.
sharing to the life after graduation community.